In example 2, we are going to evaluate each expression. Letter A, we want to evaluate the sine inverse of 1/2. So as we do this, we're going to draw out our quadrant, and we have to remember that our sine inverse function is restricted to 2 different possibilities in terms of our quadrants. So if you recall the table that we looked at, or that box at the bottom of the first page, we had 4 quadrants, and we said the sine inverse goes between negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2, meaning we could only be in the first quadrant or the fourth quadrant. So our first step is to eliminate these other 2 quadrants. Then we're going to take a look at what we're taking the sine of. And since we're taking the sine of something that's positive, we know that we are going to be in the first quadrant. So we are going to draw our triangle in the first quadrant. And if the sine is going to be equal to 1/2, that means that here's our inner angle, if we need to figure out what that is, but the sine value, which is our y value, has to be 1/2. And now we're going backwards. So if this is 1/2, what angle is across from 1/2? And that's 30 degrees. So we can label this as 30 degrees. And as we answer our sine inverse functions, we always want to do it in terms of radians. So if we're in the first quadrant with an angle of 30 degrees, we should know that the sine then is pi over 6. Let's try another one. If we take a look at letter B, we have the sine inverse of negative square root of 2 over 2. So we have negative square root of 2 over 2. Again, we're going to think about what quadrants we can use. And for our sine function, we cannot use the second or the third quadrant. And then we take a look at our sine function, and we're taking it of a negative, which means we are not in the first quadrant, and we're going to set our triangle up in the fourth quadrant. And if the sine function is negative square root of 2 over 2, that means my y value is negative square root of 2 over 2. And across from negative square root of 2 over 2, my angle inside here would then be 45 degrees. And the equivalence of 45 degrees in radians is pi over 4. But now I'm in the negative direction because I'm in quadrant 4, so my answer would be negative pi over 4. If you have questions on these, let me know. Otherwise, I'd like you to try the next 3 in the try this, so you can pause it now and unpause it when you're ready to check your answer. If you did the try this correctly, in letter A, you should have gotten pi over 3. Letter B does not exist, as negative 2 pi is not where we want it to be. It doesn't fit in our domain. And letter C should have been negative pi over 2. Remember, with our sine function, we are going from negative pi over 2, which is right here, and that's our point 0, negative 1, to pi over 2, which is our point 0, 1. We could also include 0, which would be our point 1, 0. Those are all possibilities as we're looking at what functions we have, as well as what's inside these quadrants with our pi over 6s, pi over 3s, and pi over 4s. Okay, so negative pi over 2 is the correct answer for letter C. Again, if you have questions, let me know.